welcome to Ben TV News. I am Ojede Erike. President Goodluck Jonathan has commissioned 2.5 billion naira mass housing of 270 flats named Aviation Village in Abuja, financed by the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. Commissioning the project, the president assured on the determination of his administration to provide housing for all Nigerians. He said the national policy on housing had ensured that financial institutions with interest in housing are more strengthened and relevant to low-income earners. While launching the National Housing Funding (NHF) e-card scheme, the president disclosed that it will in no small measure assist NHF in assessing and monitoring their contributions and transactions with the fund. Jonathan stressed the need for defaulters to comply by paying their contributions as at when due. The Nigerian Senate has so far screened 10 ministerial nominees forwarded to it by President Goodluck Jonathan. The upper chamber screened the nominees one after the other at the National Assembly. Ben TV's correspondent Muyiwa Bamdele completes the story.
About a fortnight ago, President Goodluck Jonathan forwarded the name of 12 ministerial nominees to the Senate President David Mark for confirmation to the office of the Ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in line with the constitutional provision. On Wednesday, 12 February 2014, the ministerial nominees were assembled for the screening in the Red Chamber of the National Assembly. First to appear in the Alo Chamber was former Nigerian ambassador to Ghana, Senator Musiliu Obanikoro, then Muhammad Wakil, Ambassador Aminu Wali, and former National Security Advisor General Ali Gusau, Ekon Etim Enekaye, and Laurencia Labaran. Others are former governor of Adamawa State, Boni Aruna, Aliru Alazan, Abdul-Jalid Adesion, and T.W. Dagogo. It is expected that the two remaining ministerial nominees, Adeja Salik, Asabe Ahmed, will take their turn next week when the Senate reconvenes. One after the other, 10 of the 12 ministerial nominees has appeared in this chamber to be screened, questioned, and drilled. It is now left for President Goodluck Jonathan to assign them the portfolio that will determine their responsibility. From the National Assembly, Abuja, Muyiwa Bamdele, Ben Television.
Nigerian House of Representatives has mandated its Committee on Communications to investigate and report back to the House in 3 weeks the sales of the Nigerian Telecommunications Limited (NITEL) and Mobile Telecommunications Limited (MTEL). The resolution of the House is sequel to a motion on the urgent need to investigate the sale of non-core assets of NITEL and MTEL, as sponsored by Honorable Ali Yakubu from Yobe State. Bent Osum Raphael, who was at the floor of the House, completes the report.
Raising the motion, the lower chamber recalled that to achieve the sale objective by the federal government through the Bureau of Public Enterprise in 2005, which amounts to billions of naira, a liquidator to take over the sale of all the non-core assets of NITEL and MTEL was appointed by the federal government. The lower chamber, in confirming the actual commencement of the sale of NITEL and MTEL, however, regretted the non-remittance of amount realized to the appropriate designated account of the federal government. According to the lawmakers of the House, the billions of naira realized from the sale of non-core assets of NITEL and MTEL may have been fraudulently frittered away without proper accountability to the detriment of the federal government. To this end, the House worried that if it does not act now in a matter that involves national assets like NITEL and MTEL, it will be failing in its duties as a parliament saddled with such responsibility of ensuring probity and accountability in government transactions. Meanwhile, the House continued with the second reading of the 2014 budget, even as many lawmakers have accused the federal government of insensitivity to the yearnings and aspirations of many Nigerians. During the debate, Honorable Samson Osage from Edo State stated that the annual budget is a yearly ritual, as the projections of the expenditure and revenue in 2013 and 2014 has no remarkable difference.
Now, what happens, Mr. Speaker? Are we going to appropriate for funds that have been stolen? I think the Minister of Finance needs to answer that question. Because we cannot begin to appropriate for funds that have already been appropriated and for which people have stolen. The minister must answer the question whether the National Assembly should continue to appropriate for funds that have already been stolen through mismanagement and misapplication of funds by those charged with the management of our pension funds. This leaves much to be desired. We must do something, no matter the elegance of our budget process and our budget presentation. Once we do not get it right to implement it for the benefit of this country, then we are not going to make any headway.
Also in his own contribution, Honorable Fort Dike from Anambra State, while acknowledging the flaws of the budgeting process, stated that the criticism swelling the budget should be expected.
Let us look at the details of the budget itself. We must admit that we are passing through hard times. It is easy for any opposition, and that is what they should be doing anyway. The opposition is there to criticize government. So if it doesn't do that, it is no longer opposition. So what people are saying, some people are saying, is to be expected. That makes for a vibrant democracy. But at the same time, we must be reasonable. We must look at the resources and the circumstances before us and try to not to play politics with everything.
The budget consideration was deferred when the Speaker Aminu Waziri Tambuwal announced that more than 22 members of the House had already indicated interest to speak on the budget. Awesome Raphael reporting.
The National University Commission, NUC, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDA, and Kaduna State University to promote entrepreneurship across the country. Signing the MOU in Abuja, the Executive Secretary, NUC, Professor Julius Okoje, appealed to the executors to make the resource research to satellite areas where youths across the country can benefit from it.
We had specialized University of Agriculture. And what we did was to ensure that we took our resource research to the villages. We call them farm villages, telling them how to build a little economy in the system. If it was gari processing, how to make puff-puff, how to do many things, from that setting. So the cottage industry is coming on board again.
Speaking at the occasion, the Director General SMEDA, Alhaji Bature Umar, assured Nigerian students that entrepreneurship will be properly entrenched in all universities across the Federation.
As a secretariat, I only want to assure our students, through you representatives of the media, that the NUC, SMEDA, and KASU are both ready now. We are prepared, we are ready to soon get action by ensuring that entrepreneurship is properly entrenched in all our universities. And from there, we'll venture down and go to other tertiary institutions.
We're excited today when you look at the interest that has been shown by SMEDA and indeed NUC in making sure that our activities come to fruition. As the Director General said previously, some of the encumbrances to entrepreneurship would include finance. But now it seems to me that we have overcome the difficulty of finance by this MOU.
Nigeria's electric power sector reform and privatization has been described as the most comprehensive and most transparent privatization transaction in recent history. In a release made available to Ben Television, the United States Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Energy Transformation, Dr. Robert Ichhod, said that in his over 30 years privatization experience, Nigeria's electric power sector reform and privatization has been the most comprehensive and most transparent privatization transaction in recent history. Dr. Ichhod, who led a 60-member delegation from the United States to the recently concluded one-day Nigeria Power Finance Conference held at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, commended President Goodluck Jonathan's bold initiative in resolving problems in the power sector. It will be recalled that the present administration, since inception, had put machineries in motion towards the resuscitation of the ailing power sector, starting with the launch of the Presidential Roadmap on Power in August 2010. Farmers and stakeholders in the agricultural sector have been advised to take advantage of the federal government's huge investment in the sector under the federal government's agricultural transformation agenda to go into large-scale farming in order to reduce the overdependence on imported food currently being experienced in the country. This advice was given by Dr. Ahmed Adekunle, the team leader of the Advisory Ministerial Committee on Mechanization, during the Regional Mechanization Stakeholders Workshop and the unveiling of the private sector-driven mechanization framework in Kaduna, northwest Nigeria.
A lot of farmers here will testify from the high table and you sitting there how much you have loved to be mechanized, how much you have paid, but yet you did not receive the mechanization that you desire. The good news is that this brand new mechanization framework that you're seeing is different from that first one. It is the mistake of the first one, the suffering that we went through in the first one, that disciplined us to put this new one together. It is your knowledge, your complaint, the knowledge of everybody sitting on this high table and yourself that we put together to come up with the private sector-driven mechanization framework. So what I want to assure you, the good news is that what you are going to see is different from what you have been seeing before. This time, you are in charge of all your equipment.
The Director of Federal Department of Agriculture, Dr. Julius Odeyemi, while delivering his speech, said the agricultural transformation agenda is geared essentially to move agriculture from a development project to a profitable business venture, which will provide youth employment, create wealth for farmers, and a major driver in rural development.
There is no doubt that the interest you have shown in the program further enhance the belief I have that there is still hope of attaining full mechanization of agriculture in this country. We hope that at the end of the meeting, some key areas in the framework will have been addressed for better implementation of intervention mechanization support for agricultural transformation agenda.
We cannot continue doing agriculture with the hoe and the cutlass. And the many number of our farmers, over 10 million, that have been registered by the Honorable Minister, suddenly we found they need to be transformed into full mechanized agriculture that is attractive to people, new people that want to join, and will not be too laborious, and it will be profit-oriented. People must make money out of agriculture, and that is what we are doing here today.
The stakeholders workshop was well attended by farmers, farm organizations, tractor owners, and banks. 7 people have been killed when a car bomb exploded near the entrance of Mogadishu's International Airport, where many foreign diplomats are based. Reports say armed group Al-Shabaab detonated the bomb and that the target was the United Nations convoy. The group had on Wednesday fired mortars at the presidential palace. Although Al-Shabaab was pushed out of Mogadishu in 2011 by African Union peacekeeping troops, they have carried out several bombings in Mogadishu, targeting government officials and foreign nationals. That's the much we can take on Ben TV News. I am Odredere Erike. Thanks for watching.